calling the meeting to order the South Brunswick Board of Education, May 27th, 2021. Please rise for the salute of the flag. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The New Jersey Open Public Meeting Act was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have an advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies of which any business affecting their interest is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this act, the board secretary has caused notice of this meeting, including date, time, and location, to be posted in South Brunswick Library. The board office filed with the township clerk and communicated to the Home News and the Star Ledger. Mr. Plowski, roll call, please.
Mr. Roger Krishna. Mr. Raymond Keener. Mrs. Joyce Mehta. Mr. Mike Mitchell. Dr. Stephen Parker. Here. Dr. Smita Raj. Here. Mrs. Lisa Rogers. Here. Mr. Joseph Scoletti. Here. Mr. Barry Nathanson.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Get approval of tonight's agenda, please.
Make a motion, we approve the agenda.
Moved by Ray Keener. I have a second. Second by Dr. Parker. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Approval of minutes, executive minutes of April 29th, 2021, and board minutes of April 29, 2021. Moved by Dr. Parker. I have a second. Second by Dr. Raj. All in favor? Oh, both of them. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Report of student representative. Zoya. Zoya's not here?
No.
Is she virtual?
No.
Okay.
Oh, want to pass over?
You gonna do it?
I'm going to do mine.
Oh, okay. We're gonna skip the student representative and we're gonna go right to the fabulous Mr. Scott Fetter for his report of the superintendent.
Oh, hi, everybody. I just want to share Zoya wasn't able to attend tonight. That's why she's not here tonight. We wish her well, and we'll hopefully see her at the next meeting. So let me just start with what's going on for next year. For the remainder of this year. So for the remainder of this year, what we deal with in the school, even over a year since the pandemic began, is unfortunately the same exact situation we dealt with over a year ago, which is Trenton doesn't seem to understand that we cannot flip things on a dime every single day. We received 4 different communications this week alone from 3 different agencies about social distancing and mask wearing. To be honest with you, there's disagreement about what it even means today, as of today. However, we're still being asked and put in the position to basically be in constant fighting with families who expect, when they read something in the paper or a tweet from the governor or a press conference that says there's no more mask wearing, there's no more social distancing. No one says the caveat that has nothing to do with schools. When it says that travel quarantines are over, and we respond and let people know, the next day we get a letter from the Department of Health. No, just kidding, really has nothing to do with schools at all. So when someone says everyone doesn't apparently mean people in school in New Jersey. So we are left continuously upsetting the public at a local level. You can ask any superintendent, probably any board of education in any township in New Jersey, they'll tell you the same thing. Every time the governor, the Department of Ed, Department of Health come out with a new thing, everybody expects we can stop what we're doing, flip everything on a dime, and forget the plans that we just spent months creating. It doesn't work that way. Yet, Unfortunately, it's very hard to convey those messages because every day it's a new message. If you remember, this is identical to what I shared over a year ago. We remain virtually in the same spot, with other people making decisions that gets the monkey off their back and throws the monkey onto yours and my back, and schools and principals and teachers. It is a debilitating experience in New Jersey right now, and it's continuing daily. With that said, the great news is we have amazing people that work in South Brunswick that care about your kids. And they do anything they can, bend over every single direction to make things happen for our families and for our students. But we have to be clear with our families. The rules for school during the school day have not changed, meaning full masks, the social distancing rules, the capacity limits, all of it. That is still in full swing for schools. Maybe nowhere else in the world anymore, but schools in New Jersey, yes. Will that change? I honestly have no idea. But it has changed at certain times of the day. For example, at 3:01, COVID seems to stop existing in public schools. Because at 3:01, we can literally pack our gym with 3,000 people unmasked for any particular reason we want. And that's okay. At 3 o'clock we do that, I don't know what happens. The COVID police will come get us. I really don't know what would happen, but we don't do that because those are the rules. I just need the public, the board, to understand we are left in a situation on a daily basis having to upset our families and our students because Trenton doesn't seem to understand how a school or system operates, and they can't keep changing their exact communication daily. We've asked 1,000 times. We need the governor's office, the Department of Ed, and the Department of Health to actually communicate before they distribute a message. It is not happening. It is not happening at all. Today, I asked the same questions of 2 different county superintendents. I got 2 different answers about the same question. Why? Because there's no way to know the right answer. We're guessing. We're doing the best we can. I go back now and I say, it's awesome to be in a district where our administrators and staff and teachers do everything humanly possible to still make it work. Even though we upset people, they still plug away and do it. So massive kudos to our faculty, our staff, everybody that works in this district for a continued ability to come to work every day under these conditions, not knowing exactly what tomorrow is going to bring. And they've been doing it for 15 months. So I get it. People are unhappy about this or that. I can't help it. We try. We're trying our best. People always compare our district to other districts. We have one parent that keeps telling us, why can't you? Why can't you? Well, because we have 3,000 kids in a high school, not 50 kids in a high school. It's a little bit different. But again, they want what they want, and they should want what they want, because what they want is good for their kids. And I don't fault any family or any person for their frustrations. I have the same or more frustrations. All I can hope people will understand at some point, if it's not now, maybe it'll be in a year, is you have an amazing group of professionals that work for your kids every day. And they are working under crazy conditions with people that are always angry. Because remember, every decision we make makes someone unhappy. Every decision. So people want, I'm going to talk about 5th grade later. Some people want 5th grade graduation to be in person. If we put it in person, we're going to be upsetting this group of people. We leave it where it is, it upsets this group of people. We don't do this for prom, we upset this group of people. We do this for prom, it upsets this group of people. That's the nature of the beast. It would have been helpful at some point for someone in Trenton to understand it takes time, it takes planning, it takes dedication to build the models we've built. Did you guys see the art show? Anyone see the art show?
Yeah,
The art show?
yeah, it was fantastic.
Unbelievable, right? Unbelievable. Now, what would have happened if it was happening now? That art show, right now, if it was after June 4th, would have been able to be in person. So play this out for anyone who's seen the art show. Can anyone imagine the amount of time it took to prepare that? So because someone in Trenton decided we're going to change the rules today, different from yesterday, what would you have done with all that? Still try to build an art show with 2 weeks' notice, the way it's been built before in person? Not feasible. But then there would have been people that would have been like, why didn't you do the art show in person? It says, the governor said, you can do it in person. Doesn't work that way. So again, that's my evening rant. Hopefully we can continue going down the path of taking care of as many kids, hopefully all kids for all reasons, but I know we won't be able to do that because people have different ideas on what taking care of them means. But we're going to continue to try and do it with a smile. Under my mask, I'm smiling. You can't see it, so I can say that. But we're trying. Great news, graduation. One graduation, everybody. One graduation. We are going to use those rules to our advantage, having one graduation with all the kids sitting on the floor. No, that did not sound right. The floor of the facility, meaning they will have a chair, but it will be on the floor of the facility at the Cure Center. This is a much improvement from 2. Kids get to see their friends graduate, and we were able to up the limit of parent guests. So huge positive there. That was something we still could change. We're still looking at 8th grade, but right now 8th grade is planned going forward. Making a move can be very hard, very complicated, and be detrimental, so we're looking at all that next week. Prom, 1 prom, not 2 proms, 3 hours, dancing, and more kids are able to come now because the capacity limit was lifted. Huge, positive. Leads me to 5th grade. As you know, we've been told by the Patch, who, by the way, just so you guys understand, the Patch at no time reached out to the school district for any kind of comment whatsoever. If they did, I would have given the information I'm going to give tonight, which kind of gives the other side of the story, which is there are actually 4 parts happening for 5th graders. One is there is a farewell ceremony. It's not a graduation. 5th grade is not a graduation. It's a farewell ceremony. They go from 5th grade to school. They're still in the district. Light years different. Light years. In fact, different planets than a high school graduation. For a 5th grader, that is an important moment. We absolutely understand that. But there's no way we're going to compare a 5th grade move-up farewell type ceremony to finishing your entire high school career and leaving your home potentially. Quite different. With that said, our principals, staff, have been working tirelessly to figure out an amazing way to say goodbye to these great kids. So it's 4 parts. First part is a farewell ceremony. This is going to be virtual. Now, are there advantages to virtual? Yeah, there are. More people get to see it. That's very nice. There's issues with how many people you could put. Now, of course, the issues have been lifted. But we only have an average of under 40% of our kids in school presently. So this is the best we're doing with that. The farewell ceremony will happen. Bringing a farewell ceremony outside, it causes complications. It's not the same year. We're sorry it's not in person. We wish it was in person and normal and every kid was here. That would be awesome, but it's not that. So what they added, instead of a regular clap out where the kids walk through the hallways, is a drive-through clap out, which is very similar to what the high school did last year for their graduation, where they get to decorate their car, they get to drive up, they get their certificate, they get clapped out, they get a photograph. It's actually a pretty cool event. And that's never happened. So other 5th grade kids never got that. These kids get that. Other kids did not get that. Finally, there's a yearbook signing. We're inviting all the students, virtual or not, to come in and do a yearbook signing with their friends. So this isn't kids are getting nothing. This isn't, it's what we can do. It's what's being planned. The teachers have been planning and working on this for a while now. And again, I know it's not making everybody happy, but in the end, it's what we're able to do, and we're able to do it well and take care of all of our kids. All of our kids have a good experience. And part 4 of that is the principals, now with the new rules, were able to reach out to their PTO presidents and say, look, we can now do a 5th grade end of the year party, a celebration. If you're a 5th grade kid, which do you prefer? Yearbook signing party or the other? They get a yearbook. Now, they used to get it all, and that's awesome. The good news is we can do all 4 of these things. It isn't perfect. It isn't everything we'd want. But I give credit to our staff for doing a great job in taking care of these kids. It is an honor to leave any particular level and go on from one school to the next. We want to honor that. The principals are doing that, and the staff are doing that, and we are proud of what we know is going to be an excellent event. And again, remember, the 5th graders are pretty much getting more than last year's seniors got. They're getting more this year. Still would be great to have everything. We can't give everybody everything. It just doesn't work. So we are trying. We're doing a really good job. I stand by the way our staff has handled this incredible last year, and know they want to go out strong. And they will. We know they will. Quick reminder, as I move off of that topic, virtual day is June 8th. Just remember, we're closed tomorrow, everybody. It's one of our give back days. We're closed on Monday for Memorial Day, so we have a nice 4-day weekend. Everyone take advantage of it. Hopefully the weather will hold out. I hear there's rain, but let's hopefully have a great day. Reminder again to everybody, June 8th is a virtual day. That's election day for the primaries. And due to the circumstance, we can't house both. We just can't house both right now. So that's important to remember. And now I want to get into next year, and I'm going to turn it over to Jen after this. So for next year, we are currently waiting on some form of information related to a few main topics. The governor has already made the edict that there will be no virtual learning next year. The problem with that edict is it doesn't actually work. That doesn't actually work yet, not with other things happening. For example, what if a child has to quarantine? What if a class has to quarantine? Does that mean they don't get any education for 2 weeks? What does that mean? How do we do that if there's no virtual learning? So there needs to be some more work done on that, and hopefully that will be coming. The other big question that still stands out there, which by all thinking it's going to go away, but it's the idea of social distancing and what that would mean if we still have to keep kids 6 feet apart when they eat. That's still a major problem for us. We will not be able to have all of our kids in every day for full days if that's the case, without massive upheaval to what the day looks like, which would be problematic. So we're waiting on that. Once we get more information, we'll be able to do our forums again and reach out. But I'm gun shy, to be honest, with anybody about sharing anything, because anytime we share something, I'm worried it's going to be wrong. So we're going to wait till we get a little bit more confirmation to make final decisions. But it does look like full in-person, full day, 5 days a week for all of our kids next year. So that's something to look forward to for everyone. And we hope that's how it plays out. There'll need to be some caveats with that, but we think we'll be able to manage those. My last thing before I give it to Jen, I forgot this. Just the Education Foundation asked to just announce they're holding its tour of South Brunswick, a photo scavenger hunt this year, which will run from June 11th through June 20th. And there's a lot of information on their website, and I think we keep putting stuff out in the District Weekly News as well. But Jen, if I could ask you, are we going to ready to jump into that first, or do you want to do HIB first?
HIB.
All right, so Dr. Diz is going to talk about HIB.
I have to say, I kind of miss seeing Bobby Binder or Peter Rattine
Yeah.
coming in with the bicycle and the helmet.
I know, nothing.
Missing that, nothing. As you all know, twice a year we share with the public our district's harassment, intimidation, and bullying investigations data and the prevention programs that take place across the district. Board members, you have a paper in front of you. If you turn to the side that has all the numbers, so I think you might have to flip it over. We're going to start there. Want to share that you might recall in the fall we shared our data for reporting period 1, which was January 2020 through June 2020. And tonight we're sharing for reporting period 2, which is July 2020 through December 2020. So it's the first half of this school year. And as a reminder to everybody listening, HIB is defined as any gesture that violates a protected class, such as race, religion, disability, etc., and that disrupts or interferes with a student's school day. As you start to look at these numbers, naturally, with the pandemic and remote instruction occurring during this reporting period, the number of HIB investigations were significantly low compared to prior years. And yes, Lisa, we have these prior year numbers here for you. See them. So that you can see some comparisons. We honestly, it's hard to show comparisons because you have to always keep in mind that different years, things that are happening in the world sometimes impact some of the happenings that happen at the school level. So we do put that there. We want you to see, just to be able to read the chart, I stands for investigations, C stands for confirmed cases. And you can see that while compared to prior years, it's lower. We had 0 at the elementary and middle school levels and 1 investigation at the high school that was found to be an active HIB. And the protected class of this investigation was sexual orientation. The bottom part of this page also shows you the different protected classes that were impacted. And please remember that the number that you see, so for example, just look at 2019 at the bottom, there were 5 different impacted protected classes. However, there were only 4 confirmed cases. It simply means that of one of those cases, 2 protected classes were impacted. So there can be cases that actually impact more than 1 protected class. So if you turn that paper over, as always, our anti-bullying specialists lead the charge in all of the anti-bullying prevention efforts. And they work collaboratively with our staff and building administrators. And even with the challenges of this past year, they still were able to facilitate and lead programs virtually to educate and support our staff and our students. And just to highlight a few, we were able to have small group sessions focused on social and emotional learning, parent academies around SEL and social justice, school spirit days and theme weeks, gay and straight alliance, staff book studies, character education lessons, and behavior contracts, to just name a few. We really thank our anti-bullying specialists. We have one at every building for their hard work. I also thank Blair Eisman, our HIB coordinator, who's actually on Zoom listening. I'm hoping I'm doing her justice here. She's here to answer questions if you have them, but she works hard with this team and makes sure that the board is updated on any of these matters. And our district website, there is the HIB policies listed there and other related information. If you want to know who your school's anti-bullying specialist is, you can find it there. And so I turn it back over to you, Mr. Fetter, or if the board has any questions.
We're going to turn it back over to you, though.
I know, we'll tag team it. Any questions, and then I can go back.
Thank you, Jess. This is exactly what we need to see.
Good. Blair, if you're listening, Lisa said great.
Anything else?
I don't see any.
All right, then what we're going to do tonight is a presentation that's twofold. It's going to include both kind of an update on school district goals, as well as Jen and her team have been working tirelessly on putting together what we're going to do and explain schooling loss, but what do we do as a result of the pandemic? And what do we do with the money we receive from the state or the federal government? I don't know where we received it all from, but Jen, I'll turn it over to you and go ahead.
So, to start this, we thought it would be a good time, and as you guys start, if you want to make your way down to be able to see the screen, that's absolutely fine. We're going to start, this actually is like a twofer, this presentation. You're going to get a little bit of a district goal update, and then you're going to learn about schooling loss. They tie really well together. And as you know, we always start with our mission and our vision. This is the words and the actions that we live by, and what our aim is for our kids, and how we tackle everything starts here with our vision and our mission. In addition to that, I went too many. In addition to that are our core values, and I always want to remind us of these. Intertwined in all of our work, a part of our mission, a part of our vision is our value of equity, and we keep that in the forefront of everything that we do, as well as how do we cultivate partnerships and always try to invoke innovation. The reminder, if you recall, I did a presentation for you guys back in November. It seems like it was years ago, but it wasn't all that long ago, when we were really in some turmoil and we weren't back in school just yet fully. And what I shared with you is that really we want to focus on strategic planning and all of these district goals, but the reality was that we had to focus on the things on the right first. But here we are months later, and I'm really happy to tell you that lots of our district goals still managed to happen, and even more. So I just want to give the board a little bit of an update on each of these goals. If you recall, we had 3 focus areas this year, as you see up here. Goal 1, just giving you an update. This is a goal that's really never ending. We should always be working towards action items on our strategic plan. And so you can see this piggybacks off of what I shared with you in November. These are things that happened. Our SEL work has been paramount, and especially with a year like this, I don't know that I'm at a table or at a meeting, at a conversation that doesn't have SEL and impact for kids and staff. I don't think I'm at a table that doesn't have that conversation. So you could see here from parent academies to our SEL day, to counselor lessons, small group sessions, optional PD, and including that awesome website that we've had in place, as well as mental health fairs. All of those things have been visible work impacting and helping our students and our staff and our families. Health and safety, you've been a part of it every meeting with us. You know lockstep what we've been doing to try to provide safety at this time. Implementation, personalized learning has been paramount for us to be able to shift to virtual instruction, to be able to give teachers what they need so they can give kids what they need. Blair has been able to put together these monthly PD bites that continually gives resources to teachers, adds tools to their toolbox, and gives them inspirational type resources to keep them motivated and working in their classrooms. The instructional tech that happens is related to personalized learning, and all the data work that we've been mining, and you'll learn more in the schooling loss part of this presentation. As well as part of our observation and PDP this year, personalized learning has been a focus and will continue into next year. As you know, our device initiative was part of our strategic plan. It was going to be on hold, but this was a silver lining of COVID, and that's fully launched and will sustain for the future. Behind the scenes, I've talked at length about this to you guys already, but Career Academies is in high action investigation, and we've been able to see what's working, what might not work, and move forward on that. Our second goal is around equity, and there have been lots of opportunities this year to work on this goal. And so again, this goal is one that will ever be finished, but some of the action, the arrow part of the words, I know there's a lot of words on this screen, but that was what I shared with you in November that we wanted to do, and then the bullet below it are some of the activities and items that we did to help support it. So our administrative team has been studying the book Stamped, and it has been a resource for us to just learn and educate ourselves. This is all led by our district equity team, and I just give them a shout out. We have passionate people that know a lot and are helping us to learn and grow. Principals and administrators are facilitating professional development, and this is happening at the school level. And as you all know, there's been parent academies around culturally responsive and social justice. This next one, this is a shout out to Kim White in charge of HR. This is really a continual focus for us. It's something that our principals look at, who's ever interviewing, and our HR department has been attending trainings on recruiting in the diverse workforce. So this is a continual focus. Being able to use data to identify targeted needs. This goes along with our curriculum revision that's happening at all levels. You know, really making sure that that cultural voice is being heard, that cultural responsiveness is happening, and that you'll see it in our curriculum. And that's a work in progress. And then finally, this last one, unfortunately this year, it's been hard. As you can imagine, bringing kids together and things in person has not been something that we had the ability to do so much this year, but it's in there. Yeah.
But we were able to continue our mentoring program for girls. Christy Pemberton, principal of Cambridge, has worked with a sorority.
Mm-hmm.
This is the second year, and they were able to continue smaller
Awesome.
scale, but we were able to get
at least we didn't lose sight of that.
Yes.
We didn't grow it as the hope would have been, but we were able to continue it.
Yeah, and knowing that will be a focus for us next year. So thanks for sharing that. Finally, this is one that, look at, I like the next little action. I can say this. These was really task-oriented, and Jim Conroy and his team really led the way on making sure that this comprehensive review happened, that we implemented the COVID health and safety measures, and that review of, what does it say? The review of, I have to go back so I can see what it says. Of the communication and training, that all happened. And, confirming that with Jim and just hearing and knowing that is something. And we'll have other goals next year, but this is something that we can say is complete. So now, moving into schooling loss. Scott's mentioned this a bunch of times in the reports. We've been talking about it. A letter went home to kind of define it and give the public an opportunity to understand and really remind us that it's not a South Brunswick phenomenon, but a worldwide phenomenon. And I want to give you, the context. Again, we stem everything around our vision and our mission. So when we think about how do we address schooling loss, we want to keep that in the forefront. Next, we need to define what is schooling loss. And Ed Elements, a consulting company, helped us to do that work. And basically, what's important to remember is that it's a phenomenon of this pandemic. It's an outcome from the pandemic. It's not the same as a child that might have learning gaps. It's really the opportunity to learn didn't happen. And so we have to think about not just academics, but social, emotional, and think of it as a system. And that's why we call it schooling loss versus just learning loss, because it's not just about the academics. So I like this slide because it gives you just the picture of what we were like pre-pandemic. And on the top left, you can see that for us, for professional learning pre-pandemic, most of it was, or all of it was in person. We had days built into our calendar that helped our teachers to be able to have professional learning. The calendar had early release days. That's how we got that information in person. Targeted instruction, it really varied by level, all done in person. Enrichment, again, all in person, varied by level, but would compete with other programming. In this pandemic, we learned some things. We were able to have targeted instruction that's a mix of virtual and in person. This really gave us a better use of staff due to less travel time. They could be in more than one place at the same time. Same for enrichment opportunities, and professional learning got interesting. Being able to have synchronous and asynchronous, and our early release day Wednesdays have been something that allowed our staff to be able to plan and prepare during this pandemic. So some lessons post-pandemic that we want to take forward. We really know that we need to allow for teachers to collaborate, learn, and garner new strategies. We know that this small group instruction has to happen. The opportunity to learn, the opportunity to get some of the instruction that they didn't just get a chance to learn. It's not they can't learn, they just didn't get the chance to do it yet. We need to make time for that. And that we really have to keep the idea of social and emotional needs of our students in the forefront. So, how do you address it? We're taking this three-prong approach. Firstly, on the left there, Tier 1 supports. This really means the class as a whole, the school as a whole, and really helping everybody. And what we mean by that is utilizing personalized learning, like we said. This allows a teacher to target student needs within a classroom and help him or her differentiate. We also need to focus on building capacity in our content instruction, as well as helping a better understanding of social emotional learning and the anxiety, the trauma that our kids are going to be coming in, and along those lines, taking care of our staff too. That's all in Tier 1. Tier 2 and Tier 3 speaks to that targeted instruction, targeted approach, small group that I mentioned earlier. We need this not only for interventions, but the opportunity for acceleration too, giving kids exposure and experience with different areas that they didn't have before. This can also come through one-to-one if needed. Another part to this would be adding staff. I'll talk about the monies behind that because we know that we have money problems, but there are monies for this. But adding interventionists would help this level of work. We would be able to have students work with specialists in the area of intervention. The last part are some systemic changes, and I give you a couple examples. The idea of thinking about our school day and being creative. For example, at the middle school this year, they learned a lot in the pandemic about block scheduling and how that can impact and help a middle school kid. And that could be something moving forward to do. So systematic changes like that could be a way to address schooling loss, and it's something that we're looking at. The intentional PD in our early release days, we have to be really cognizant of that and pick the days and the timing of it so we really can capitalize on the kinds of learning our staff needs. So that was all just part one. And now I just want to kind of take you through the journey of how we got to today and then what summer and fall will look like. And then I just want to let you know about the funding. So this slide has some pictures and some words, but it really tells a large story. The first part is getting the stakeholder input. This started happening last spring. Part of our supervisors, part of their journey at the end of last year was getting a sense of what learning loss, as we were calling it then, was happening, what had been completed, what hadn't been completed, and it helped us to get started this year. It helped us to prioritize standards and the curriculum. So the work really started then with the input. You can see that through SEL surveys, the admin team, and our K-12 team, we got input from families, from our admin stakeholders, and the K-12 team consisted of teachers and paras and the like to really give input. And some of the things they gave input on was what are the areas of most importance? What is the data that we want to look at to use to help us identify what kids need what? And I want to talk a little bit about the data and give you some examples. In the area of academics, we can use things like at the elementary level, we have something called Exact Path. That's an adaptive technology that allows us to see where kids' strengths are and very specifically the skills they don't have. That's a piece of data that we could use. We could use our SST teams from academic standpoints and get a good view of the whole child to understand what they need. We could use Unify, which is a data hub or a data warehouse where we house our common assessments. This includes our end-of-year assessments, so that's data that's still to come. We can use anecdotal data of what's being observed in the classroom, as well as running records for our younger learners and their reading levels. So that's some of the academic side. From the SEL side, just as important, we can use things like our attendance data, academic performance, anecdotal surveys, SST data. We work with the Bridge program. We can look at referrals that are happening there to get a sense of the kinds of needs that kids generally need. We can look at our district survey results. We have climate team surveys that happen, so we can look at those results closely. All of these pieces of data are going to help to tell us what we want to do and who needs it. This next part has been the exciting part for our team. So bringing together our district teachers and leaders, they really went through different protocols on brainstorming and iterations of what needs to be done. They spent a lot of time of coming up with ideas, who are the folks that can help us do it, and what are the resources that they need. And from those brainstorms, they were able to create what we call a canvas that really gave an action plan to what it is that they want to do. I think this is a good point to mention. My partner in crime in all of this is our Director of Assessment Intervention, Suzanne Luckborn. She has been by my side in making sure our staff and teachers have what they need so we can determine and promote what needs to happen for this to address schooling loss. So let's get in a little bit to what's going to be seen, what you will see in the name of schooling loss. I draw your attention first down to the bottom. I want you to know that part of us really recognizes that kids have been behind screens, and we want them to have somewhat of a summer this year. We truly do. But we also recognize that this is an opportunity to, in some cases, get a little bit of a head start, in some cases, do some intervention, and in some cases, give some exposure and social opportunities for our kids. Where we could really clearly identify is what we've planned for. We are looking at offering these different programs, and these are different than any of our typical. So for example, board, you don't see Summer Institute up here, because that's something we normally do, but you do see that we will be having a high school science lab camp for exposure and opportunity for kids that might not have been able to do labs, right? We haven't been able to be all that hands-on to expose them and give them opportunity. You can see that we're looking at credit recovery. The top one is an ELL summer camp. That has a lot to do with social and emotional. Getting our English language learners in person so they can start to acclimate and articulate and speak the language. This is an opportunity for social and emotional as well as a head start in reading. High school summer Excel program. This has to do for targeted students based on some of the data we talked about that we want to get in and give them some intervention services this summer, as well as there'll be opportunity for some planning for fall. So some of our data will just be coming in. We want to get a jump on that this summer so that our intervention services can start strong in September and not have to worry about piecing the data together then. So we will use some hours this summer for that. We'll, of course, have professional learning opportunities this summer, and we are also having special education spring and summer academies and for IEP students. So our plans for the fall, this is our start. So this doesn't mean these are the only things that are happening, but I wanted to give you a taste so that you can see at each level what could be and what will be. At every level, there's opportunity of the tier 1 and small group instruction that will happen. I want to stress, and I'm excited about this, at the younger levels, we are adding a total of 5 elementary interventionists to the team. And at the middle school level, we're adding 6. So just as a point, and in the middle school right now, we have 3 interventionists. We have 2 math and 1 ELA at each school. Adding 6 means that they're going to get 3 more at each school. Every grade level will have an ELA and a math interventionist. It's needed. It's going to build the capacity for our staff. It's going to provide the support for our kids, and it's a way for us to address schooling loss. There will be an SEL focus at all levels. And again, that idea of coming up with some creative scheduling so that we can, in the school day, have some small group instruction and help kids. We also know, as warranted and as we can build them, and if they'll come, before and after school programming, as well as one-to-one tutoring. The high school, being able to just provide access for kids through writing labs and math and science labs, this is their targeted instruction. They're really looking at, from the SEL perspective, mentoring program and building on that, as well as being creative to address time and giving opportunities for things like SEL and other interventions. From the district standpoint, we really know that being able to have somebody bring a laser focus, a wealth of knowledge, and the ability to consult and help us. We are looking to hire an intervention RTI specialist hopefully for the next 2 years, and I'll talk about the monies in a moment. But this is a person that really could help us, K-12, streamline our SST process, help to build capacity at the tier 1 in all of our classroom level, adding tools to a teacher's toolbox so that they can address the needs of kids. We are looking at purchasing and having a universal screener for our students for SEL. We need to know what kids need. There are great screeners out there that could help us do our job better. So that is something that we'll use to address this issue. Special education academies and the targeted instruction will continue to happen in that world, as well as ongoing professional learning. All of this is really being made available because there actually is a grant for this. And I'm speaking to this grant. If you look at the picture, it's the bottom one. There have been other grants that we've been offered this year, and some of them we used strictly for the PPE and the safety side of things. We used some to support some of the technology we needed. And now this bottom grant, and you can see the dollar amount that's coming in for us. It's about 1.6 million. And I wanted you to see this because I want you to know it's simple, but it's not simple. They want to give you the money, but it takes a lot of time and effort to really understand the grant and know what you can put the monies towards. So again, this is where Suzanne is an expert and really can read through and let us know, okay, we can spend for this, we can allocate here. And you can see that first grant, the 1.4 million, this is how we're getting all those people. People cost a lot of money, right, David? And so us being able to really capitalize on direct targeted instruction for kids, we are looking at bringing in 9 new staff members. They all will be grant funded. And what that means is that they're here till the money runs out. And so we're looking at this grant. It will give us the monies through September 2022, so through next school year into the summer. And we just got word this week, there's another grant that's come through called the ARP, American something plan, rescue plan. And that will actually piggyback off of this one and let us continue these services for at least another year. So we definitely have taken our time to allocate. You can see the planning that we did to be able to think really carefully about these monies. The middle one, you can see STEM and ELA. A lot of our high school pieces are coming out of the middle one. And then you see that whole mental health piece. A universal screener costs a lot, but we know it's important. We know it's a need. They're giving us the money to do it. We really are capitalizing on every penny. This gets audited, so we will be carefully spending every penny, and we will continue to update this board on how the money is spent. But honestly, this really, I hope, gives you some insight to how we're addressing schooling loss. And I'll be excited to report out again, next school year, letting you know the good things that have happened, the progress that we're making, and what the next grant looks like, because more money to come.
One piece regarding the
Mental health. We were informed that the lowest amount of money any district could receive was $45,000. That means a district with 8,300 students received the bare minimum $45,000, which also means a district like Bradley Beach with 250 students received $45,000. We're not unhappy with getting money, but when we talk about all the work that has to be done, we are on the lowest end of how much money was provided to districts. And a district with 8,300 kids getting the bare minimum, we have the 6th largest high school in the state, and we have the bare minimum for mental health from the state. So this is important to understand. We'll still do great work with it, but it's a very interesting approach that has been taken with the funding.
So I turn it over to you guys. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer. And Scott makes fun of it. I have the thanks slide. Credit, yeah, and then I can answer that for you, Joyce. Yeah, Joyce just asked, what does credit recovery mean? We have high school students that didn't earn their credits, and there has to be credits to graduate. And so to provide them the opportunity to recoup those credits in the summer, sometimes you can do it by an online class. We're actually offering and giving the hours and doing it in the seat. It's like a hybrid, actually, both in the seat and virtually. So these are identified students that have this need.
Jet, based on your knowledge and Suzanne's knowledge of how we're using this money and what needs we have out there, do you think that there might be a need for parents to have an understanding of their child's loss, their schooling loss, or their mental health issues through like an academy to help the parents in terms of providing them with resources as to how they can help their child as well.
Lisa, thank you for mentioning that and asking that question. Whether we had grant monies or not, you know how we pride ourselves on our parent academies. SEL, again, like this year, will be a clear focus for our families so that they can help their kids. Actually, in the grant, there are monies that go for educating families, so that will be part of this for sure. Thank you. Thank you. All right, thank you, guys.
Thank you, Jen. It was a great presentation. Thank you. Moving along, it's time to open it to the public. Find the public statement. The Board of Education recognizes the value of public comment on educational issues and importance of allowing members of the public to express themselves on school matters of community interest. Complete copies of the rules that govern this portion of the meeting are available to the public at the back of the room, or you can obtain an advance copy by contacting the board office during regular board hours. We reserve the right to limit each speaker to no more than 3 minutes. It is our plan to listen to each member of the public. We will note all questions and comments made. Once all questions and comments from all members of the public are made, the Board of Education will respond if necessary to questions or comments in the most timely and efficient manner available. Please consider not responding to comments and questions made by other members of the public. I ask that you state your name, spell your last place of residence, or your group affiliation. We also have online that all public comments will be accepted in person only. Board meetings will continue to be streamed live and can be accessed on our website prior to the start of each meeting at www.sbschools.org. We welcome and invite anyone who would like to make a public comment at any of our Board of Education meetings to please attend the in-person meeting. Meetings are held here at Crossroads North Middle School. Please remember, anyone attending an in-person meeting must wear a mask at all times and perform a pre-admittance self-evaluation exclusive of a temperature check at the door. Seeing no one called you, correct, David?
Yeah, we have no pre-registrations.
Okay, thank you. So seeing no one here this evening, I will close the public portion. Moving along to board committee reports. Have anyone that, Mrs. Rogers, go ahead.
So for each member, I handed out the recent curriculum committee meeting minutes from last week, and, or excuse me, from yesterday we met. And I just wanted to highlight a couple that we'll go through. So on the 25th of May, Jen and team held a meeting with those families that are attending Greenbrook that are now going to be going over to North once they're finished. As you may recall, Greenbrook will now be feeding into Crossroads North. All the 5th grade families were notified, and they had a forum this past week, obviously, on the 25th, and I believe, very well received. There's a few families, I think, that are going to be staying with South for the specific reasons that were identified. but we're really excited that this should go fairly smoothly and with no issues. The students will be kept together with their neighbors. Next on the specific on curriculum around social security, social studies curriculum, we are going to start looking at an expert who's going to consult with the various teachers and supervisors regarding the social studies curriculum. I'm really excited about that. And this will be around not just obviously the curriculum, but it will include social justice and culturally responsive classroom. So we're looking forward to seeing some updates on that once that gets underway. Each year also, there's days that are added to the school calendar as early release for staff professional learning. For next year, there's going to be 9 days added to the calendar. It's going to be one a month except November. And this is going to help address some of the school learning loss that Jen just discussed recently. Also on ELA, there's going to be guiding reading libraries at every elementary school, and the consultants are also going to continue next year with elementary and middle school levels. And they're going to be adopting a new ELA curriculum that's underway in middle school and at all levels. And then starting this September, the new year, Writers Workshop will be a program for all students for K through 8. Any questions on curriculum? Anybody?
Yeah, Mr. Rogers, I do have a
Question.
Okay.
With regards to the bringing in of an expert to consult, how's that selection process going to take place? Who's going to make the final selection and whom that expert will be?
Jen can handle it. Yep.
So anytime you bring in consultant, we do an RFP and we put out what it is we're looking for, and then we will look at what comes in, because this is something that's not as, like, a lot of people can do this service. So we will then meet with them. We'll have a criteria sheet that we get through the business department for all different aspects, and then we'll make a determination based on our need and what they can provide.
So will the board have the final decision on that?
No, you'll know about everything, but that it's not normally something that you guys would choose or vote on.
So
I
that's at the committee's choice?
no, so, right, I bring consultants in all the time. So I bring consultants in to do professional learning. That's what this is. Their expertise will be around social studies, social justice, and culturally responsive teaching.
But it'll still be an RFP going in. Are you concerned about budget?
No, I'm not concerned about budget. I'm just concerned about the content and the presentation of the expert that we choose. I want to make sure that we're all in agreement that that's the expert we want.
What do you mean by that, Ray?
You can go and get an expert, and an expert can say bald heads are perfect. He'd be right. But you can get another expert that says that wavy heads are the better of the two.
That's ridiculous.
So we're in agreement there. But maybe not all 9 board members are, so I want to make sure that we're getting the right mix of an expert to
So
come in.
when it comes to this kind of decision, it doesn't go to the board for approval. So what it is, when we hire an expert or we hire someone to do a curriculum review, that's what administration is tasked to do. So if the board wants a different layer of involvement in that, we would need to know that, because that would not be something we would be doing. It would not be a bidding process. What would it be, Dave? This would be a,
An RFQ, a request for qualifications, or an RFP, a request
which
for proposal.
which we'd be able to share those with everybody. But at the end of the day, it's one of those things where,
The scoring sheets become public document.
yeah, it's not a hidden thing. It's just, if there's input the board wants, just let me know what that is. And
If it's an RFQ or RFP, whatever you're doing, and we get the feedback on whom,
oh, you would have
submitted,
that, yeah.
then we'll know
Ultimately, the
the
board
next
has to
public.
approve the emotion.
correct.
So it's not that, I'm just saying the process, we don't usually, it's not a 9-member process. But
Okay.
you get ultimate final say on approval at the board level for a motion.
Okay.
Yeah.
May I make a recommendation? Would it be something that it could be the multiple RFPs or RFQs that are sent out, would that be something that would be reviewed by the committee, curriculum committee, just to see which has been chosen? I don't know if that would assist in Ray's concerns. It's just a recommendation or an idea. We could take this offline, but, and discuss it as a committee if you'd like. It's up to you.
I know that just as we have been, you're going to be kept abreast through the curriculum committee of we haven't even started the process yet, and
Right.
brought you in on it. So yeah, I don't think there's any problem of keeping that committee informed of our progress of that process.
Yeah. And then we could keep the board apprised
Yeah.
also. Ray, would that meet, or is that a area that would help?
Will help, and I agree that maybe we can talk offline.
Okay. All right. Thank you for the question. Anybody else?
Anybody else from board committees? Dr. Parker?
I'm reporting from the Negotiations Committee. As I mentioned early in the year, we have 8 bargaining units, all of which contracts are up this year. Earlier this year, we were able to get approved the teacher's contract. On tonight's agenda, we have one for the secretaries. So we are working hard. You don't hear much from us until it gets to this point. But on tonight's agenda is an approval of a new contract for the secretaries. And I want to take the opportunity to thank the secretaries for all the work they do in this district. They're an important and vital part of what we do. But it's item 1.13 on the consent agenda. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Parker. Anyone else with committee reports? Yes, Joyce.
So the policy committee, which comprises of myself, Mike Mitchell, Raja Krishna, and Mr. Nathanson had attended. Mr. Scott Feder and David Pawlowski were there. We met on the 18th of May to discuss and review policy number 0145. And just to be sure that the language was appropriate for this policy, we instructed legal counsel to review the policy, and then they had approved the wording. That's it. Thank you.
Yes, so that's on the consent agenda for second reading, by the way. Anyone else? Seeing no hands. Moving along, approval of action items. Tonight's consent agenda is May 27th, 2021. Can I get a motion? Moved by Dr. Parker. Do I have a second? Seconded by Mr. Mitchell. Roll call, Mr. Pawlowski, please.
Mr. Raja Krishna? Yes. Mr. Raymond Keener?
Yes.
Mrs. Joyce Mehta? Yes. Mr. Mike Mitchell? Yes. Dr. Stephen Parker?
Yes.
Dr. Smith Raj? Yes. Mrs. Lisa Rogers?
Yes.
Mr. Joseph Scaletti? Yes. Mr. Barry Nathanson?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Board comments and communications. Anybody on the right? Mr. Mitchell, go ahead.
Just wanted to recognize Asian Pacific Islander Heritage Month, which is shortly leaving us. And with that, I did a little bit of research to see who those celebrities are from that group. And you'd be interested to see. I have about 8 people. One being actress Lucy Liu, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, John Cho from Star Trek, Keanu Reeves from The Matrix and various other movies, Ang Lee, Constance Wu from Fresh Off the Boat, Justin Lin, who's directed most of Fast and Furious, Jason Momoa from Aquaman, Sandra Oh and Maggie Q, amongst a few. So just wanted to recognize that group. We recognize Black History Month, we recognize Hispanic Culture Month, so I figured we needed to give recognition to this group who contributes to our society here. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mitchell, for that shout out. Anyone on the left? Mr. Keener.
Yeah, I just wanted to remind the public that the Viking football team is sponsoring a golf outing on June the 25th. And if anybody's interested, contact Coach Viato. I'm sure he'll be happy to sign up any foursome that wants to play.
Yeah, Mrs. Roderick's going.
Very quick updates. One has to do with Trenton. So there is an Assembly Bill number 4693 that just passed the full Assembly Education Committee, the Assembly Education Committee on May 12th, and it passed the full Assembly. And I feel that the board needs to be aware of this because it does affect us, that if this particular law comes into play, public school officials, elected or otherwise, including a Board of Education, will be unable to speak about legislation or legislators that are involved in making decisions about schools and students within 90 days of any election. So if you're interested in understanding this a little bit further, I highly recommend that you review Bill A4693 because we cannot speak out if this passes 90 days prior to any election. And as everybody knows, there's at least 3 or 4 elections each year in New Jersey. Second thing is, this has to do with North Brunswick, but I feel that South Brunswick should be aware of this. As you all may recall, a young man last year, Daniel Adderall, was shot and killed at his home defending his parents last year. He attended Catholic University. He graduated from St. Joseph High School, but he's also a communicant. Him and his family were communicants of St. Augustine's here in South Brunswick. The family is going to be honoring Daniel on Saturday, July 17th at an inaugural Love is Light 5K run walk. And that's going to be at the North Brunswick Community Park where Daniel played baseball games from grammar school to high school. So I know many citizens of South Brunswick were friends with Daniel and his family, which again is why I'm stating that here. I've posted both the notice as well as a sponsorship form if anybody's interested in 2 sites, one on South Brunswick Cares about schools and the other on the South Brunswick community page. So if you can make it, it would be wonderful. If not, if you could pass around the information to help support this family, it would be appreciated. Thank you.
Lisa, do you know on that bill, does it include superintendents?
Yeah.
It does?
Wait.
Does that bill include superintendents?
No.
Yes.
Sure?
That's what I hear.
Oh, boy.
And no one is going to be, from what I understand, public school officials, elected or otherwise, will be unable to speak.
I would be otherwise?
If you're not elected, you're paid. So right at this point, it's
Reports will be shorter.
it's sitting, I believe, it definitely passed the Assembly Education Committee, and I apologize, I cannot remember if it passed, if it's already through the Assembly, but I do know that there's a sister bill at the Senate.
Yeah.
So we all need to be aware of that, and hopefully it won't pass.
Okay, just to clarify that, Lisa, so
We're going to have monthly elections?
Well, the problem is that you have elections, yeah, you have like 4 elections in the state of New Jersey. So if you count backwards, right, there's really no way we'll be able to say anything.
okay, to clarify that, Lisa.
Yep.
That's not exactly what happened, okay? And that's
I'm
not-
reading it from the bill. Tell me, yes,
Okay,
please.
but that's not exactly where it is right now. So we had a legislative committee a couple of weeks ago meeting, and Dan Harris is a member of the committee. He's a school board member in Woodbridge. He's also the chief legislative aide to the speaker. They have proposed change of language that the Senate is now looking at. The language was recommended by the New Jersey School Board Association because it basically does almost what is the case now. We as board members, technically as a board member, and that was That's the purpose behind it. And I'll send everybody a clarification of the actual bill. The purpose behind it was to try to clarify what we can't do right now. As school board members, we are not supposed to speak about elections. Personally, you can speak about elections, but as a board member, you can't speak about elections. And that's kind of where the woods are on that bill. So I'll send you a clarification.
Yeah,
and
that
I'll
would be
send the
helpful.
rest of the board the interpretation
Yep.
from the New Jersey School Board Authority.
Thank
okay?
you.
Dr. Raj.
Thank you, President Nathanson. On the eve of Memorial Day, I would like to express my gratitude to all our men and women in service. Thank you for your service, and thank you to all the families of our servicemen and women for their sacrifices. It reminds us to strive hard to make sure that none of it was in vain. I also wish the community a safe Memorial Day weekend. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone on the left? No? Anyone right? Okay. So I just want to say goodnight to South Brunswick. I want to wish my fellow board members a very happy long weekend, Memorial Day weekend. We are not back here reminding the board and the community. We go into our summer schedule and we're not back here for a month, not to the end. Correct, the end of July, Mr. Fetter? June, excuse me, end of June. The end of June. So our summer schedule is the end of June, the end of July, and then a meeting in August. So, oh, we have 2 meetings in June. Never mind, I'm losing it. Okay. So the summer schedule doesn't start yet. I'll say it again next month, I guess. So I want to wish everybody again a happy, good weekend, a safe weekend, and I want to say good night, South Brunswick.